Greetings, friends, and welcome back to the Sonja Show for another episode of our Mother's Day edition. This is our Embracing the Moment segment, where we explore what it means to find peace, purpose, and presence in every season of life. I'm honored to welcome our next guest in the person of Mrs. Yae Stratton, an actress, acting coach, and creative educator whose work is deeply rooted in storytelling, mentorship, and community. Yae is also the creator and host of Becoming the Part, a platform dedicated to helping actors develop their voice, confidence, and presence. But today, we are exploring another important part of her journey, her role as a mother. As a creative navigating the demands of both artistry and family, Yae brings a unique perspective on what it means to grow, evolve, and show up fully in both spaces. Yae, welcome to
Hi.
the show.
Thank you for having me.
And you're the benefit of my audience. I just want everybody to know that we know each other from the creative space.
Yes,
We've been
yes.
on stage together, right?
Yes, we have.
We've been on film together
Yes, we have.
recently.
Yes, we have.
And so, yeah, I am one of those who benefit from what you do. And I thank you so much. So, what you're seeing here is part of what she has taught me to do. Okay. And thank you.
I love you. I love that.
Look, it's the tongue
Listen.
twisters for me, though.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. It's the tongue twisters for me.
We've got to do those tongue twisters. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
But,
I'm very proud of what you're doing. And like I was saying before we started, just you've been popping up on the timeline and you've been doing your thing. I'm glad to know you and seeing you taking your own intentional space in your element and that things are coming in alignment for you. And I can see you moving in the direction and you're telling your own story in that. And that is very nice to see. It's very nice to see.
Thank you, Yae.
Welcome.
Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. So, Yae, you built such a strong identity in the creative space of your own. And
Yeah.
so how has becoming a mother shifted or expanded that identity for you?
I think that early on, when I started this all, it was something that made me feel comfortable and safe and free. And over time, you get older, you have different things that happen in your life and you go through those things and you teeter and you totter. But coming back fully to everything, it's like my biggest thing with acting is storytelling. I love storytelling. I think that there are so many stories to be told. And back in the day, every culture had their own storytellers. We are the storytellers of our culture. We are the storytellers of our existence right now. And this is the way we tell them. And so for me, it's like, I think it's also my way to tell my son about the world as well, but also thinking of some of those complex characters as we are complex people. We are not one-sided. We have thoughts while we're speaking. Multiple things are happening at one time. And sometimes that gets lost. And I feel like that would be the best way for me to help him to understand that being the best version of yourself is the best way you can be. You can compete with yourself, but competing with others doesn't really take you anywhere. Everyone has their own story. And so for me, I have shifted into making sure that he is also on set with me. He's been on set since in the womb.
Yes,
And the first
yes.
time we acted together was when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And he's my first. And I would preface him before I got on stage because I would be in roles that were demanding or just very emotional, right? And you know that you're connected with your baby at that moment and you know they're going to take on some of those things. And so I would pray and then I would also go and say, hey, mommy's about to go act. You're going to help her act. We are going to go in.
Wow.
We have to cry. We do feel sad, but we don't feel sad. Our character feels sad. We're preparing our character because someone needs this story. And I would say that before all of our performances. I would wait until everyone went upstairs. I would come back downstairs and I would have a moment with myself so that I can feel most comfortable stepping in. And then, as him coming out, maybe a few weeks, he was on set with us again. We were filming some short sets. So we live in a creative world like my husband and I. So he's naturally going to be a part of that. So bringing him in and whatever, at least he's familiar with people being there, or he's acting and he doesn't recognize it yet. He's gotten to do some things where it's mostly when they're kids and they're young. He's only 2.5. When they're young like that, you're just using them to be themselves, right? But you remember too, for the theater festival this past summer, when I was leading warm-ups, he was there with me for some of those. And so when we're doing vocal warm-ups, he's doing them too. So, you naturally know your children will watch you and see what you're doing. So what is the story you want to tell them as they're coming in and meeting people? And everybody's very kind to my son, and I appreciate that. Like, it's something that we all want. You're very nervous on how these kinds of things can affect yourself and your children and your family. And when you have a dynamic like I have where it flows right and everything works in its own the gears are moving, then it's good and it feels nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I told y'all she had a unique perspective. I told you. Because, the truth of the matter is, and we hear it all the time, but I don't know how serious some people take it in terms of that baby being in your womb is exposed to any and everything
Every
you
single
feel,
thing.
whatever you do. You know what I mean?
Everything.
They're already present.
Everything.
And that is really, I've never heard anyone articulate, not a creative, articulate, doing that kind of thing before they actually perform.
Yeah, and I'm big on prepping him for most things. Like, obviously, I know that I will not always be able to prepare him for everything, right? But as much as I can prepare him, I do. One of my friends said to me, they're like, I love the way you let him know what's going to happen. So if we're going out, I say, we're gonna go to Miss Sonja's podcast today. We're gonna go to a podcast. Yeah, we're gonna go to the podcast and we're gonna sit and mommy's gonna speak. And when we're done, we're gonna go and do whatever we're gonna go and do, right? And I do that all the time for him. So I did it then and I still do it now. It's different, but like you said, those emotions, you have to prep yourself too, because we sometimes flow into these characters that take so much out of us and you can't get out. And if you don't prep yourself, if you don't have things in place or songs or people or whatever to pull yourself out of that, you're stuck. And when you are pregnant, you are connecting with another being who is growing, and we're 2 weeks away from him being born. He's going to come out with whatever I just gave for the last XYZ amount of months. Most of the time that he understood anything in the womb, I was already in rehearsal. So if I don't prep him, then he thinks that this is real, and it is real to someone. It's just not real to us. And so I will always do that. Even when we were in rehearsal, I would step to the side and I might say it, softly to myself, but that's what I really was doing, to prep him, to prepare, because it's emotional. I'm going to cry. I'm going to get into a place. You may feel like we're all very, very sad, and then I'm going to be done and you're going to be still confused in there. I don't know. And I know it's not something I guess you have to do, but it's just something that I always did and I always made sure to do. If we're talking to you in the moon and we're reading to you, why not?
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
So as a mother and a creative and a wife, right?
Yep.
What have you learned about navigating those roles without losing yourself in the process?
I think everyone starts with the cliche communication, but literally talking things out. My husband and I were married before we had my son, so we were together first. And so even when I'm taking a role, if I feel lightly indifferent about it or it's something that happens in it, I make sure to share that and say, hey, how do you feel about X, Y, and Z? Or what do you think I should do with X, Y, and Z? Not for dictatorship, but sometimes I just need a second opinion to approve the first thought that I had, right? And so while I include my family, that's the first piece. I include my family in what I'm doing, and they're interested in it as well. It's saddened when you have partners who are not interested, and so you can't include them. I don't have that trouble, so I am lucky enough to have someone who's very interested in what I do and can also play alongside me. So that is the first piece. But like I've said before, having my son on set, getting him in, this is the world we're going to be in. Whether we do it on small, medium, large, immense scale, this is the life that we have taken in. So this is the things that we're going to be doing. And so I include them. My husband helps out on set. He has most of the film equipment that we use is his. He's checking things out. My son is being on set just in general or being in something and being used in that way to get him prepared too. And again, he's young. We're going to act now. It's time to act. He's like, he gets it, but he's two. So. But yeah, for me, it is making sure that I include that because it's a huge part of my identity, and also making sure that I make the time for them separate from the thing. They've been very supportive in my creative journey, especially this year. I've taken on a bunch of different things and we have been integrating and working and navigating through the thing. But as long as you continue to talk to one another without attitude, without strife, you're just talking. Like we're talking right now. Yeah. And inclusion, I think, is the best way. Otherwise, you have two separate worlds that are fighting against each other for no reason. You don't need to do that. If this is a part of who you are and this is a part of who you are, merge those things together and let them marinate in greatness, and just then you don't lose your values, you don't lose the who, you don't lose your why, and you don't lose who you are.
So your work focuses on helping others find their voice and presence. So how has motherhood influenced the way you show up in that space?
I think that so many of us don't always know what to say. Sometimes we struggle to find the words. And I think that for me, acting has helped shape that. I think at minimum, I've always been for women in paying attention to the holes and the successes, and making sure to identify those and remind people before I had children. Even if they had children, I understood on a level and I still spoke to that, but having children, now you understand differently, right? And now I have a firsthand experience on how often a child calls your name, mocks what you do, follows you, wants to do, go where you're going and wear what you're wearing, and, little things that you do that they do. Like the more you see that, like I think of it as this is our next generation, the children right now. And so if we don't grab a hold of, then we lose that thing early when we can just grab a hold of, and I think that that's in anything. And so I use acting for that to encourage people as well, because one, sometimes you feel like you don't have a voice. And when you're taking on characters and you're given these roles, it is for a reason. It's all a part of your story. And a lot of times we find healing and we find peace in these characters if we allow ourselves. But also, it's like our therapy. What we have that is negative or uneasy or whatever, that flows onto our children. So if we don't get a hold of it and get a hold of them, then we all spin out of control and nothing makes sense. And voice, it might be a side conversation with someone that no one knows, but to encourage women, to encourage men to speak up for children and get myself together, because I'm not all the way there either. I'm still working, I'm still growing, I'm still learning. And I think that having a child has taught me even more about myself that either I'm good at and you need to stop overthinking, or like you can work on that a little bit. You want to adjust your tone a bit? That'll be nice. And that's what I have learned from my experience. And so I take that and I keep building on it. And yeah.
That's amazing. Amazing. So what would you like to say today to encourage new mothers who are struggling to still understand what their identity looks like, or hold on to it even if they do know, understanding or struggling with their purpose, their voice, while they're raising young children?
You are you. Are you. And as odd as it sounds, it is the truth. You are who you are before and after your children, during, and you have to live with you. What that does not mean is to negate your children or push them aside for the thing. Find a way to integrate, but do not lose yourself in it, because later, when your kids are grown and they want to live their lives, you will regret. So allow yourself to be you and embrace that, and also share that with your children, as it may allow them to find out more things about themselves. It may encourage them to do more for themselves. If we constantly live for our children and our children alone, but we push aside ourselves, then who's going to take care of the children if something happens? If we're not worried about ourselves and then we perish or, whatever, now they still have nothing. So why not take a moment and focus on yourself so that you can get better for yourself and for your children and integrate them into that positive, let me be specific, positive lifestyle. You want to go do something crazy, go on and leave them kids somebody else now. But, for that positive experience so that they can grow and learn. But you will be you, will be you, will be you. So allow yourself to love on yourself. Mm-hmm. And allow yourself to take time and have grace with yourself.
That's beautiful. Oh, before we close, can you just share with the people a little bit more about Becoming the Part, because that's new.
Yeah, so Becoming the Part podcast, I actually started it in Indiana, and I will be relaunching it out here in Philadelphia now that we're fully transitioned. But it is the notion that anyone can act with the right tools. And so the podcast speaks on character development and voice and body and sort of all those things and pieces that go into how we act and how we consider acting. And so just really saying that with the right practice and being intentional, you can progress your craft and be more creative, or just trust yourself more. Just believe for some people, it's really public speaking. And so trusting that your voice can and will be heard and people will listen, and sharing your stories. To me, it's always going to come back to storytelling, because that's what we're doing. Even now, right here, we're sharing stories. You are giving a platform for folks to share their stories. And that's what's happening.
Awesome.
While you show yours.
How can our listeners connect with you?
I'm on Instagram at its_Yae Stratton. I'm also on TikTok as the same thing. I have a YouTube channel under Yae Stratton, and I am at yaestratton.com for my website, where you can find out more about everything that I do.
Yae, thank you. Thanks so much for sharing your heart with us. You made me confident, like I feel like I need to go have a baby or something. I don't know. I think I can do this.
You can. You can.
Thank you again. I appreciate you. We look forward to having you back for part 2.
Yeah, I look forward to being here. Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you to your listeners who are constantly supporting you. Yeah. I love it.
It's conversations like this that remind us that motherhood doesn't erase who we are. It expands us. It challenges us to rediscover ourselves in a new and deeper way. And for every woman who is navigating her identity and purpose while nurturing herself and her family, I hope this conversation has encouraged you to embrace every part of your journey. Remember, friends, you're not on this journey alone. Join me for the next segment, and let's embrace these moments together.
Aww. How cute.
Say cut.